Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. John Kander, Fred Ebb, and Bob Fosse's razzle-dazzle musical Chicago is the longest-running American musical in Broadway history, and now one of Broadway's favorites. Brandon Victor Dixon has stepped into the iconic role of Billy Flynn, and I caught up with him here at the Ambassador Theater. Brandon, I am thrilled to be talking to you across the street from your brand new theater, your new home, the Ambassador. Welcome home to Broadway.
Absolutely.
How does it feel to be back?
It feels wonderful to be back, and it is my birthday, so I really celebrate the fact that I am on Broadway, which has always been my dream. This is the dream, and I get to be on Broadway on my birthday, and I'm very grateful for that, and I feel very blessed.
Wait, today is your birthday?
Today, September 23rd, is my birthday.
Well, we are thrilled that you're celebrating it with me and at BroadwayWorld.
I'm happy to be celebrating with you all, who have been such a support to me for so many years. I'm really very grateful to you and to BroadwayWorld.
We go back to the very first, do we go back to the Color Purple?
Absolutely.
In the rehearsal room and then opening night at the New York Public Library.
Absolutely. Remember? I remember it. And the library was bathed in purple, totally. As well it should be.
Exactly. How does it feel to be back in Chicago? Like, what is it like living in the world of this show?
It's really special to me because, I have a relationship with Kander and Ebb. The Scottsboro Boys was the show that I did with this family originally. And so to be welcomed here has been really special to me. And the construction of the show, Walter Bobby's direction, it's a really unique piece of theater. And it's a testament to its quality that it continues to run to this day.
Okay, so you were playing lawyer Billy Flynn, such an iconic role. Mm-hmm. What do you love about him so far?
I love that Billy is honest and he's also a showman. It's not facade, it's a show, but he's really kind of showing you that there's a way to play the system. And I love that Billy also, I like that Billy says that everybody deserves representation, and I'm standing up for the underdog. Let's see how this plays out. Okay.
Every time you go into a show, you always bring a different color. You bring something else to a role. What's your Billy like?
I'm not sure. I've only been in the show for a week, so I don't know what my Billy is like necessarily. I did my research, and so I know what the character is based on. But I've created a little internal backstory for my Billy. My Billy is actually kind of secretly Haywood Patterson, who made it out of the system, and now he's trying to get back at the system. That's how I see it.
Oh, I love
and
that.
And that's a little Easter egg. You can look up Haywood Patterson and the Scottsboro Boys. It's an Easter egg for people, but that's how I see it.
Well, that's one of my next questions. You have lived in the world of Kander and Ebb before, but let's talk about what is it like singing their score in this show of Chicago. You've got some incredible show-stopping numbers.
It's different because the Kander and Ebb work I did before was new and original. So this, for me, it's stepping into iconic work, iconic music, and it feels like home. I feel Kander and Ebb's work already within me, and it feels like the construction of the music in this show is so meticulous and also so clever and delightful that it sits within me. Also, the style of the show is not necessarily a style that I get to do very often, and it's always a style that I've been drawn to and that I really grew up with, and so I'm really indulging in getting to be in it on Broadway right now.
Well, let's go back to the Scottsboro Boys, one of my favorite musicals. I mean, that was such a beautiful, beautiful musical, and that haunting, beautiful score that they wrote for that show. Favorite memories of doing the Scottsboro Boys and working with John Kander and Fred Ebb?
My favorite memories of doing the Scottsboro Boys were really being in that little theater down on the Lower East Side, the Vineyard Theater, and really just developing the piece with that wonderful ensemble of actors, people like Coleman Domingo and Forrest McClendon, and for me, creating a show is the most beautiful part of it for me. The rehearsal, the tech process, and to get to do it with legends like Susan Stroman and John Kander and the memory of Fred Ebb and Tommy Thompson, that was a real blessing for me, a real blessing.
Okay, so the first time you saw yourself done up as Billy Flynn in that incredible tuxedo, like when you saw yourself in the mirror, what went through your mind?
I was just excited. I had never thought about even being in Chicago, and so the idea of it, was never in my brain. And so when I put the tuxedo on, and also I went into the show pretty quickly. We don't have that long to learn it, so that's when it felt real, and that's when I felt ready to kind of dive in and welcome people to the theater.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the other thing, too. It must feel so wonderful, with the pandemic behind us, to be performing again on Broadway in front of a live audience again.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things where we recognize during this period the importance of community and the importance of coming together amongst art and the power of what theater can do and the value and the necessity of theater. And so I'm really hoping that as we come back and as we continue to rebuild our economy here and our theater economy and our entertainment economy, that we remember that and that we create space to sustain that through any future challenges.
Okay, so you went into the show with Angelica Ross as your brand new Roxy Hart, and Amar Faye Wright is back as Velma Kelly. Does it make it a little easier going into a show with a few other people than just going in by yourself?
Oh, absolutely. The mistakes are shared. The mistakes are shared. The shame is collective. No, yeah, because we are all having a new experience, we get to play with one another, and it doesn't feel like we are just kind of trying to hop on the back of a already moving train. It's like it all becomes new and fresh for everybody. And also the wonderful ensemble who have been here already, they've talked to us about how excited they are when new performers come into the show, because it keeps it alive for them as well. And so it's just been really exciting for all of us to, I know Angelica, this has been a dream role of hers, and Amra has performed this for years, and so it's a really honor to be on the stage with both of them.
The great thing about Angelica, I spoke to her right before she went into the show. She is the first openly transgender woman to headline a Broadway show ever. I mean, she is so excited. It must be so exciting for you, like the new audiences that are coming and everything else, and just having her live her dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, anytime anybody can manifest something like this, I think is really special. And so I think it's wonderful for Angelica. I think it's wonderful for the show, everybody who is coming to this show and kind of learning about Chicago via Angelica, because she is so popular and she has such a wonderful community behind her. So I think it's great, and it's been lovely, and we hope to see you all at the theater.
Okay, let's talk about that first performance. What do you remember about your first performance that you all went in, about that first night?
The nerves. Because Chicago is like a train. It really is kind of meticulously constructed. That score moves, the direction and the structure of the show moves. So you don't want to miss a beat, because if you say a wrong line or you miss a note, it keeps going, it keeps rolling. And so you want to make sure all of those jokes hit and all those beats hit. And so it was really just exciting to be in a show in this kind of process, which is different than rehearsing it every day and being ready to go and well-oiled. Now it was kind of a thrill ride of that we had to hang on. But we're professionals. We're talented. We made it.
What do you remember about your bow that night?
I remember the standing ovation. That is what I recall. Everything else was a blur, but they were on their feet. I remember that.
Okay, we have to talk about Billy's entrance, because I've spoken to many Billys over the years, and they said it's scary and daunting because it's dark backstage. You climb the stairs. Explain how your opening, that debonair entrance, begins.
It's a wonderful entrance because you have this wonderful ensemble of lovely ladies with fans chanting your name and waiting for you to appear at the exact right moment, for the lights to hit at the exact right moment with the band, and you got to run up these stairs, and you've only done it like in very different circumstances prior to this, and never with a tuxedo on. And so you're really, again, it's just like, I don't want to make a mistake. Don't make a mistake, because it becomes glaringly obvious if you do. But I took my time. I was there maybe a little early. Early's better than late. And we hit it and we took off, and everybody took great care of me. It was a great first show.
No, because a lot of Billys have said, Richie, it's pitch black, you climb the stairs, you get hit by this blinding spotlight, and you have to debonairly walk down these stairs, which you can't see,
and
right?
You got crew members behind you just making fun of you and trying to be like, don't miss it, don't make a mistake.
Don't miss the stairs.
Exactly, because they've been here, so they've seen us all go through this trauma.
Yeah. No, because I've talked to so many of them, and some said some were able to shadow Billys, that they had the time to do that.
I was not given that opportunity.
You went very fast.
Into the fire.
But that's the best way to go into a show sometimes, right?
That is the best way to go into a show. Absolutely.
It's like, just get on stage and make your magic.
Just do it. When you've got, like I said, when you've got a wonderful cast and crew supporting you like that, they make it easy. And mistakes happen, but it's okay.
Well, let's talk about the audiences. I mean, Chicago is the longest running American musical in Broadway history. People fly in from all around the world to see this show. This is one of the first ones they line up for at the box office to get tickets to. Why do you think audiences fall in love with this show generation after generation?
I think, look, it's a very funny, it's a very clever show. I think that, and again, the nature of kind of the quality of the performers and the quality of the crew who keep it together is very high. So the show the execution of the show is as if it just opened. That's part of it, and it's been very smartly constructed. It's structured in a way where they can bring in different performers from different walks of life, from different genres, and bring in these other audiences to kind of enjoy what Broadway can be, what live theater can be. And so I think it's really great work by everybody all around. I think that's really what sustains it. I think that's really what gets it done.
Yeah. We all remember that first Broadway show we saw where our lives were all changed, walking into a theater like this and getting a playbill and sitting in a seat. Yeah. Yours was Ragtime, right?
It was. Mine was Ragtime with Audra and Roger McDonald with Brian Stokes Mitchell. And Maren Maisie. And it was like, I was in like the last row with the binoculars, and really mesmerizing experience. And from that point on, Stokes kind of became my role model.
Yeah.
And people, in fact, I was the dork that people would call Cole House in school. I took it that far.
Call me Cole House.
Call me Cole House.
Because I remember going to see the original production of Chicago at the 46th Street Theater, which is now the Richard Rodgers, where Hamilton is at, which we're going to get to Hamilton too. I sat in the last row of that theater. Have you climbed the stairs at that theater and see how high? Okay, it's really high. My head was sitting on top of the ceiling of the 46th Street, but I felt so close to Gwen, Sheeta, and Jerry because that's the only perspective I knew, and it was so mesmerizing and it was life-changing for me. As you say, sitting in one of the last rows of a theater to see Ragtime.
Absolutely, and then going home and listening to the recording and just letting the show and the voices play in my head until they could play on stage beside me.
So growing up, where did your love for theater begin, and what were your earliest creative outlets?
My love for theater began in my elementary school with my music teacher, Mrs. Burt Worth. Really, my school understood the crucial importance of arts education. So we had a music class every day. Yeah. We did 3 musicals a year. So that was where my love for Julie Andrews also first began. And it's really kind of the influence of theater and shows with Julie Andrews in it, and then the influence of kind of music and performance through Michael Jackson and Motown that really kind of formed my creative, inspirational foundations.
What was one of the first musicals you did, like in school, where you got the lights and the grease paint, and you were like, I'm going to do this?
We were doing, we did Oliver Twist, and we did the Pirates of Penzance, and The Music Man. When I was in 8th grade, I played Harold Hill in The Music Man, and that was one of my favorites, absolutely.
Stopping the show.
I'm coming for you, Hugh. I'm coming for you.
He's the next replacement in The Music Man, but that's a great role to do. I mean, those numbers that he gets to do in Trouble.
Oh, yeah,
you probably stopped the show in 8th grade, right?
It was wonderful. Oh, yeah, I shut the entire chapel and cathedral down, absolutely.
Okay, speaking of shows, you have given us so many memorable performances, on stage and, of course, on television with Superstar and everything else. I want to name a few. Just tell me what memory comes to mind.
Okay.
Let's go back to The Color Purple, which was your Broadway debut. We talked about this before we went on. I remember everything about that night. We were at the theater, and your open night party was at the New York Public Library, remember?
Yes,
and it was purple lighting downstairs in that big, beautiful...
Stevie Wonder in the lobby, absolutely.
So what you created the role of Harpo.
I did.
What do you remember? How magical was that night?
That night was magical, but there were magical moments prior to that. I remember the first reading we had before we went out of town to Atlanta, and I remember looking across the table at Krisha Marcano, our squeak, and we both knew that something special was happening at the table. We knew something special was happening with that show. That's really what I remember from that.
But I mean, that opening night was so special up here at the Broadway Theater. Oprah,
Absolutely.
everybody was there, right?
Absolutely. It was my first kind of like star-studded Broadway opening and my first kind of welcome to Broadway. I was still just out of Columbia at the time, so it was a really extraordinary night. I can't even remember all of the different celebrities who came to the show. But
everybody was there. It was crazy.
It was. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I barely remember. It was a whirlwind evening.
Yeah. With the purple lighting.
Yeah.
Shuffle Along, another one of my favorite musicals at the Music Box. What a cast. George C. Wolfe. I mean, favorite memory of doing Shuffle Along?
Again, my favorite memory of Shuffle Along, it's the work. It's being in the room with these wonderful performers. Brooks Ashmanskas, Joshua Henry, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Billy Porter, Audra McDonald, and George C. Wolfe, and talking about our lives and talking about the lives of these performers and this story.
Why not, right?
Exactly.
Come see a Broadway show.
Why not? But really, talking about the art and talking about our lives, which is what theater is about, art and our lives and the intersection of the storytelling we get to bring to audiences and the community that we get to create throughout that. So that was what was really special for me. The creatives involved in that show. It's like it's a very unique collection of people that will probably never come together again.
And then there's Hamilton.
Yeah.
You have quite a history with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got to, kind of come in and take over from Leslie Odom Jr. and spend a year in that building. And it was a really incredible year. It was an election year, so the energy around the show and kind of the social politics of the show and the social politics of the country were kind of magnified and made for really a powerful experience considering what Hamilton is all about.
Yeah. Berry Gordy, you were brilliant as him in Motown. I had such a great time. I got to speak to Diana Ross twice on opening night on the carpet before and at the party.
You made out like a bandit.
I did do well that night. I did really well that night. But for you, I mean, knowing Berry Gordy, getting to know the man and to play the man, what that meant to you. Because you and I spoke a lot during Motown.
Yeah, no, Motown was a particularly special show for me because, like I said, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5 and Motown were a foundational part of my artistic inspirations. And so getting to become a part of that show, I was brought into the show through my mentor, Charles Randolph Wright.
Oh, yeah.
And, getting to get to know Barry and could become a part of the Motown family was exceedingly special. And I do remember, that opening night with Stevie was back again. And I remember that, in fact, Stevie climbed up onto the stage, at the end of the show. And Diana Ross was there and Smokey Robinson. And just, really the love that was given to us by all of these kind of Motown legends and stars as they welcomed us into this artistic legacy was a dream come true.
Yeah, because that had been a big dream when you're brought up on this music, and then opening night, they're all on stage with you, and you're like, this is like the biggest dream you could ever dream about.
Absolutely. It was the kind of definitely like a culminating moment for me as like a little kid, and then coming to my adulthood. Absolutely. It was very special to me, and I'm very grateful for it.
Jesus Christ Superstar Live. I was there that night out in Brooklyn watching you like blow the roof off the place. I mean, what was that experience like doing that live?
That was very unique. These hybrid theater, television, live experiences they're new for everybody involved, trying to figure out how to put the piece together. And also, I was not that familiar with Jesus Christ Superstar, the show, prior to this experience. So kind of digging into that music and getting to know Andrew Lloyd Webber a little bit was very special. But also the scale upon which we did the show was really thrilling. And again, one of those kind of artistic dream moments you dream of singing a song like Superstar in front of like a stadium of people. And that was really kind of the feeling that project gave us. Absolutely.
But it was like, it's live all around the world for millions of people. Here you go.
Get it right. Get it right.
And you did. You're also a producer, which I love. Mm-hmm. You've worn the producer cap.
Yeah.
An award-winning producer, for Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yes.
And, of course, of Mice and Men.
Yes.
What gives you the most artistic satisfaction of being a producer?
Really finding a story or finding artists like myself who are working to put projects together or working to get their story or their voice out there. And if I can manage to be a part of the support that makes that happen, that's what you want to do. So many people have supported me and helped me get to where I want to be. And I always try to, do that to my fellow artists, offer them opportunities that I now have myself.
Well, thank you for doing that. And I want to ask you, back to Chicago, how early do you like to get to your dressing room?
I like to get to the theater at a responsible hour before curtain. Some people it's a half hour, those, the reckless fly-by-night performers. But I get an hour beforehand so I can responsibly prepare for my show.
What's the last thing you do before you hit the stage?
Do a little meditation. Just trying to center myself and try and focus on getting things right and not making mistakes in my show. Yeah, a little meditation.
Yeah. Finally, audiences are back on Broadway. All the marquees are lit. There are shows lining up. There were load-ins going in at all these theaters the other day. All these great new shows. There's all this great energy on the blocks that was shut down. Just tell me about the audience's reaction like to your show and feeling them on stage and seeing them when you come out at the end of a show, them cheering, what it means to you.
It's really wonderful to see that the excitement for sharing experiences with one another is so fervently there and remains within us. And for me, I'm just grateful that that I've had the opportunity to be on Broadway and to meet people like like you and to meet kind of the community that supports live theater. And I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to continue to tell people that live theater is here, live theater is powerful, and you need to come check us out at Chicago the Musical.
Finally, what are you loving the most about being back on Broadway?
I'm loving getting to sing and dance.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting now. No, yeah, really being able to sing these songs and to share this art with people in a live setting. That's what I'm excited about being back on Broadway.
Well, it is great to have you back. I thank you for spending your birthday with us here at Broadway
Thank you
World.
for spending it with me.
And like I said, I've known you since the rehearsal room of The Color Purple, and it's been so wonderful to watch people who are not just super talented, but are super nice
Well,
get to the top.
I appreciate that, and I feel the same.
Always
So
a
good to
pleasure,
see
my
you.
friend.
Always a pleasure.
Good. And everybody, go to the theater. See him, Chicago.
Check us out.